in our hospitals, and that means that they are in a secure area of the hospitals. And we've had 7,500 tests over the past 24 hours, and our vaccination rates are up to 28,533, so that's a very good outcome. So this past fortnight we have recorded 55 new cases in hotel quarantine, so that's something that we need to be very much aware of. And once again, I've been very strong advocate of regional quarantine, and we're still yet to hear about that. Now, today it's great to be in Port Douglas, and we're here to talk about a couple of things. And the first thing, of course, is our tourism industry recovery action plan. And I'm very pleased that Minister Hinchcliffe and the Assistant Minister Michael Healy have brought this in to Cabinet, and Cabinet has endorsed it. And what this means is we want to set up our tourism industry for the future. So once we come out of the pandemic, where are we going to be and what do we need for the future? But yesterday I had the great privilege of meeting with a number of tourism operators here, and clear messages are that the vouchers are very well received, and we need to make sure that people are using their vouchers. That's a great measure to help our operators, and we'll be visiting a couple of places today to see how that's going. So that's a good way of directly helping people. But what we also heard loud and clear yesterday is that we need to have some more staff up here in Port Douglas. So if you are anywhere else in Queensland or Australia and you're thinking about moving for work, I don't think there's a better place than Port Douglas. So have a look online, see what vacancies are around, and I'm quite sure that Mark and some of the others up here will be talking to you about the opportunities that exist to come and work in Paradise. So that's what we want to see. If you're a young person and you're thinking about having a gap year, I know a lot of young people used to go overseas. Come to Cairns, come to Port Douglas, come and have your gap year up here, and you will not regret it. So back to our Tourism Recovery Action Plan Task Force. We will be having Liz Savage will chair that panel, and Minister Sterling Hinchcliffe will say a little bit more about that. And we'll also be joined with former Tourism Australia CEO Andrew McAvoy, who's very, very highly regarded as well. And of course, Tourism Events Queensland Chair Brett Godfrey will also be on the panel. So once again, this is about setting up Queensland for the future. And once we come through this pandemic, Queensland will be a highly sought-after destination for people to come. We already know a lot of people from Victoria and a lot of people from Sydney are booking their trips up here. It's great to see that in some of the accommodation they're around 80% to 90% capacity. That's fantastic for this time of year, but we need people out and about enjoying the experiences, enjoying everything that this wonderful region has to offer. So look, I'll hand over to Sterling to say a few words, and then of course Michael and Cynthia. We'll hear from Mark and Steve and a couple of other people, and then we'll answer a few quick questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Premier, and it's great to be here in Port Douglas and not only talk about the way in which the industry is working through the challenges of the effects of the pandemic today, but having a plan for how we look ahead, how we look forward, and that was part of our discussions with operators here in Port Douglas yesterday, Premier, wasn't it? Together with the sector, we will shape what the visitor economy looks like beyond the COVID curve as we build back better. Our next steps are really critical, and that's why we'll be working in lockstep with industry, listening to what we need to do to be successful in the future and planning how we get there. The industry reference panel being announced today has been formed to help chart that journey ahead. The group consists of aviation leader Liz Savage as chair, alongside former Tourism Australia CEO Andrew McAvoy and Tourism and Events Queensland Chair Brett Godfrey. The panel will oversee the development of an action plan for tourism recovery to help position Queensland as the place to visit. The panel will explore a range of issues that are relevant to the future of tourism success. Very importantly, issues such as new opportunities for growth, rebuilding airline capacity, new products and experiences, and very importantly, including off the back of things that we heard yesterday, and I've heard at roundtables right across the length and breadth of the state, the importance of how we enable growth through skills, infrastructure and technology. So There's an opportunity for industry and the public to have their say through some discussion papers that will be released at the end of May. Those submissions will help shape an action plan which will include some early actions released and identified in the middle of 2021, but also a final plan to be released in early next year. Helping to inform this and respond to those discussion papers will be a series of industry roundtables, but I'm really pleased and happy to have industry leaders like Liz, Andrew and Brett step forward to take a part in this panel, to be part of the way in which we design, the way in which our sector and the way in which government works with the tourism sector, how it responds to the immediate needs, but also those longer-term needs as we return to seeing international borders reopen and we solidify Queensland's role as the place to be.
Thanks, Sterling. Michael and Cynthia.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Premier. And I just want to say, first and foremostly, it is absolutely terrific to be in the Member for Cook's electorate, as always. Worked here for many years. I want to say a big thank you to the Premier for coming up today or yesterday. We've had a fantastic engagement with the industry, and I just want to acknowledge as the Assistant Minister for Tourism, the importance of the industry goes without saying. However, what we are discussing here today will be government in consultation with the industry. We know the industry has been ravaged by COVID, and as a result, we have 3 extremely qualified people in key areas that will form groups and be able to consult with the industry to come up with an action plan that what we believe will assist us in moving forward. It is absolutely fundamental to areas like here in Port Douglas, Cairns and other regions throughout the wonderful state of Queensland. In closing, anybody watching that, as the Premier said, who's generally looking for work, there are some wonderful opportunities up here. I encourage you to come up here. Not only can you work, your quality of life is impeccable. So I look forward to seeing as many of you up here as I can. I'll hand over to Cynthia. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I start off by thanking our Premier, the Minister for Tourism and the Assistant Tourism Minister for visiting us here in the Cook electorate, particularly in Port Douglas. We know that tourism industry here in Port Douglas COVID has had a huge impact on industry, and so it is really important to have the Premier here to listen to all of our concerns, the challenges we face, but more so how we can work together collaboratively moving into the future. I think this Tourism Action Plan is a wonderful initiative by this government to work with industry to better prepare ourselves for a better and brighter future. I cannot thank you enough, Premier. I think it is wonderful to have you here sitting around the table yesterday with industry and listening to, I guess, the challenges that we face in regional communities, and that is the takeaway from yesterday's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, Tony.
Thank you, Premier. Lovely to see you.
Good to see you too.
So in uncertain times, what's needed is confidence, and today's announcements boost the confidence of the industry, of our workforce and of customers to travel here to the beautiful Port Douglas and right across tropical North Queensland. We can't thank the Premier, the Minister and Assistant Minister enough for their support. Initiatives like the Cairns Holiday Dollars have immediately injected funds back into the industry. We've seen hundreds of bookings, and already travellers are out cashing in their holiday dollars with smiles on their faces, and thousands of dollars are going back into our community. The Industry Action Plan will set a roadmap for the recovery and the change that is needed in our industry to respond to the changing needs of the consumers worldwide. Such an important step in the recovery, and such great leadership shown by government and by those leaders who have stood up to lead this, with Liz and Andrew and Brett providing great insights into how the world will be post-COVID. For the workers out there, there is confidence. The numbers are building, consumers are coming back in great numbers through Easter and right the way through June, July. So as you've heard already, this is the world's best job and the world's best place to work. So come on up to Port Douglas and right across tropical North Queensland, where there are incredible job opportunities. But more than anything, what we'd like to say is today is about confidence for consumers. There are great price deals going with half-price air seats, We've got businesses rearing and ready to go. The weather is absolutely spectacular. So if you haven't already booked your Cairns and Great Barrier Reef escape, now's the time to do so. You might find that the school holidays are already a little busy, so look outside the school holiday periods, take up the opportunity if you've got a Cairns Holiday Dollar to cash it in, and if you missed out on a Cairns Holiday Dollar, there are some incredible opportunities available to you. Today is all about confidence in uncertain times, and we thank very much the Queensland Government for their ongoing support for our industry and for our region. Thank you, Premier.
Thanks, Mark. Tony and Steve, want to say a few words?
Yes, I'll say a few words.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
Premier, it's lovely to have you back up in Port Douglas again.
Take me out the reef next time.
I will. I hope everyone's enjoying the lovely warm weather up here. It's a little bit sweaty. Premier, I wanted to say thank you very much for the travel vouchers and the holiday promotion for you and your government. The tickets were available, I think, as of Monday, and it's been great to see a lot of bookings already start coming through. Our own company, we've had over 40 bookings. We've already had people travel, and it's a great initiative leading into Easter and then the quieter periods that happen after Easter. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Steve?
There's a lot of Steve. So just to say thank you for all the stakeholders listening and visiting. To say a big thank you and a big warm welcome to come up to Port Douglas in this tropical North Queensland. We're very, very fortunate. This is one of the enviable places for our visitors all around Australia to come and relax. Remembering we've got winter coming our way, we've got months of wonderful conditions and a really warm, friendly hospitality where we'd just love to say we're ready. Your support is greatly appreciated, and you won't feel any better than yourself for taking 4 or 5 days out to come and escape to tropical North Queensland. So thank you again for all of those making it happen, listening to our challenges and looking forward with a bright future of seeing that recovery happening. So much appreciated. Thank you.
So already 280 bookings have been made with the holiday vouchers, which is wonderful news, and there's some lucky winners around the state, so hopefully they'll be booking their experiences to really show their support for this industry. This is a great industry. The people in this industry love working here, and they want to welcome you to paradise. So please think about booking that holiday. Come up here to Cairns, Port Douglas and all of the surrounding regions as well. There's so much to see, whether it's the Daintree, the Atherton Tablelands, but you only have to look behind me and this is paradise. It's any wonder that Julia Roberts and George Clooney are coming to film Ticket to Paradise. We live in paradise. Happy to take a few questions.
Tanya, is there any update on your talks with Scott Morrison about sending health workers over to PNG?
I updated everyone yesterday. We had those discussions, and now the health departments are working together, Commonwealth and State, about that. But also to Cynthia Louis just came back from the Torres Strait yesterday, and she said that the announcements were very well received up in the Torres Strait. So to all of our families up there in the Torres Strait Islands, the vaccination program is going very well and the package is being very well received.
Will Queensland workers be going over to PNG?
We're working through all those details at the moment.
What's the advice now for people who have a history of severe allergic reactions for taking the vaccine, and why has that advice changed?
Yeah, well, I think, so yesterday Dr Young had some concerns. She went to the AHPPC and, we're very much upfront. The Health Minister is very upfront about if you hear something, we tell the public. So she did that, and I commend Yvette Darth for doing that. And then Dr Young went to the AHPPC, and this is, being Commonwealth-led, and, as the Commonwealth came out and said that there is no reason for alarm, I fully support that, and people with those severe allergies should just talk to their GP, make sure that their GP knows. But the vaccination program is going full steam ahead.
So, Premier, just following on from that,
yes.
So was it right for Minister Darth to tell the people with a history of anaphylaxis to delay getting the COVID jab contrary to the TGA advice?
Well, the TGA came out and made definitive advice yesterday. They're the proper people to do that. And like I said too, early in the morning there was some initial concerns, and she was doing an early morning press conference, and I back what she said. But like I said, this is Commonwealth-led, and everyone is comfortable with the vaccine rollout, and we fully support the vaccine rollout.
Do you think the federal government's jumped the gun announcing phase 1B, and GPs across Queensland have now said that they've been flooded with calls?
Well, people want to get the vaccine, and there's a whole network of GPs that the Commonwealth is talking to. So don't forget, the Commonwealth is responsible for 60% of the vaccine rollout, and the states are responsible for 40%. So that GP network, they've been working very hard. I know that my local GPs, they're going to be involved in that rollout, so I've seen communication, which is good to hear. So don't forget, we want to get our population vaccinated so then we can open up even more, and I think that's going to mean even more confidence. You heard Mark today talk about there's confidence in people travelling and booking and doing experiences. We're going to have even more confidence once people have that vaccine. But until everyone has the 2 doses of the vaccine, we are still going to see risks from hotel quarantine. Like I said, we've got those highly contagious strains that are in our hospitals, so we need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to contain this virus. We do not want it out in the community.
Could you just give us an outline a bit more on this task force, how long it will operate for and what some of the main goals are?
Well, I think we've got experts in the field here, and you know, government has given the go-ahead for this, but we've put experts there to go out and talk to the industry. So we want to hear from industry about how they want to come out of this pandemic. So what do they see as some of the options for their sector to really capitalise? You know, and what that might mean is once we start seeing full vaccinations in other countries, aggressive marketing campaigns to those countries. We already know we're going to do an aggressive marketing campaign into Victoria and New South Wales, and I think the Minister will have more to say about that on Sunday or Monday. But, you know, we want to encourage more people to come to Queensland. We're already seeing strong bookings from Melbourne and from Sydney, people wanting to come up here. Now, is it any wonder?
Should people with anaphylaxis, sorry, just back on that matter, should people with anaphylaxis no longer need to delay getting the vaccine?
I think people need to take the advice of the TGA and need to take the advice of their doctors. So I think the advice at the moment, as stated, I had a read of it this morning, is that they should tell their GPs that they have had a history of it and they will be monitored. So people should still go ahead and have their vaccines.
Just on the community youth crime forums, it's come
Yes.
to Cairns last night. I guess what's come out of it so far?
I'm not up to that's the committee, so the parliamentary committees are doing that, so they will give a report back to Parliament.
Just a couple from the Darling Downs, sorry. It's closing the gap day today. What is your government doing and planning to do to improve health and education outcomes for Indigenous Australians, particularly in light of the pandemic?
Yeah, well, we're doing a lot, and I think you would have seen early on in the pandemic, it was a national decision and a state decision to make sure that we actually protect our most vulnerable. So we actually had zones to really protect those communities, to stop people travelling in and out as they were the most vulnerable. We have a really strong program, ministerial champions, where we have ministers and director generals going into communities, and then they update me about what's happening. So I think we've put a lot of investment into health and education, and that will continue under my government.
Are we on track to have the Greater Brisbane lockdown for hospitals, aged care and disability services lifted tomorrow?
Well, it's looking good. It's really looking good. So that announcement will be made tomorrow. Dr Young was very positive on our phone hookup this morning, and so we'll await that outcome tomorrow. So let's say fingers crossed overnight.
Premier, how involved are you in any mediation with the traditional landowners of Cape York in relation to them locking down the tip?
Well, I don't have any direct involvement in that, but what I can do is ask the Minister, Craig Crawford, to be speaking with local communities about that. Okay. And last question?
Just on the Gold Coast, Premier, the domestic violence centre is poised to lose funding mid-year. Are you talking with the federal government to extend that, and for how long? Yeah,
so we've got some good arrangements in place with the federal government when it comes to the prevention of domestic and family violence. We've opened up new shelters under my government. We see this as a key priority, and we will continue to do everything we can to make sure that there's appropriate accommodation for our women wanting to flee domestic violence.
And just in terms of waiting for an outcome on the quarantine facility at Wellcamp Airport?
I'd like to see a decision on that. We've got National Cabinet coming up in a couple of weeks, so I'll raise it there again. And look, finally, I just want to end on this note. It's 10 days until the end of JobKeeper. This is a really serious issue for our tourism industry. Once again, I am still calling on the federal government to have more targeted support for people. This is a real issue. This was raised again yesterday with me by our tourism operators. We want to make sure that our tourism sector gets through the worst of this coming through the pandemic so they can come out of it at the other end. These are mums and dads, these are hard-working people who, through no fault of their own, but with the closure of the international borders due to COVID, are really going to feel the impacts when JobKeeper ends. So it's 10 days to go, and it's 10 days that we could still be seeing, hopefully, some more assistance from the federal government. Okay? Yep, last one.
So last year you announced your support for legislating protection of the World Surfing Reserve on the Gold Coast. Are you still committed to achieving that?
Absolutely. The reality is here in Queensland we've got some wonderful, beautiful natural assets. We're enjoying them and seeing them here today, and that's part of why we're focused on making sure we protect those natural assets. One of those wonderful natural assets is the break at the southern Gold Coast, and that World Surfing Reserve is something that the Palaszczuk government has been committed to protecting. We're still working through the right mechanisms to achieve that, but we are committed to doing whatever legislative or regulatory reforms we need to do to protect that part of the world and to protect that surf break.
And how long are you expecting that to take?
Well, we're wanting to make sure that we have that in place. It was a commitment we made at the last election. Election commitments, you have a capacity to deliver those during the term that you then serve, but we will continue to work with all of the relevant agencies and stakeholders to make sure we get it right. Doing it in a way that might be make you feel good, but not actually achieve the outcome isn't the right outcome. We've got to work on it properly to get it done. But while I'm here, give some further updates on the Cairns Holiday Dollars figures. It's as the Premier was alluding to before, 280 bookings already in the first few days of its operation. $114,000 worth of investment coming into the economy as a result of the Cairns Holiday Dollars, and some 49 operators who have been supported with the redemption of vouchers. And we indeed have a voucher winner here, Sarah Wood. So I'm not sure if you want to ask Sarah a couple of questions.
Hi.
She's a winner.
I'm a winner.
What are you going to do with
Well, I think when I look around, I have to go out to the reef. It's so beautiful, and I want to support some of my friends who are in the industry here as well, because I'm a local and we've been hit really hard. So it's a really great way to get them back up and fuel the confidence that I'm feeling personally as a small business owner and the rest of my community.
Oh, lovely. All right, thanks everyone. No, we're finished. Sorry,
I can talk
we're
to you
finished.
offline.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Down to the wharf, we'll do some overlay.
Hey guys, so